Good evening, guys. Welcome to class.
Good evening.
Evening, Alani. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. I don't know why the trader is not in class. But rather than leave you stranded, let me just take on. Even though.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. Good evening. I'm doing. Okay, so let me quickly. Okay, yeah, I can just. Let me look for the manual. And then share screen. So this is lead. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yes, nothing particular today, just reviewing, revision, taking questions, answering questions, and so on and so forth at your pace. Nothing particular, unless you ask questions that would mean our direction will be guided by the kind of question that you need. So what am I even sharing? I'm not even sure what I mean. Let me just do this. I wasn't prepared for this, so I'm just trying. Okay, so what do we have here? All right, guys, can you see me? Can you see the screen? I mean, AWS. Let me log in.
Yes, we can see the screen.
All right. All right, questions. Review. Yeah, or what did you expect? What was the plan for today? You were supposed to do revision, right? Revision doesn't mean me going over everything that I've taught. It just means that, okay, you have done your own practice, or you've read a note and you have challenges here and there. There are things that you want to clarify, areas you want us to go more like. I don't have a specific topic for today, but we already covered it. Okay. And then you have the latest notes. If you don't ask questions, we'll just be here staring at each other. That'd be nice.
I have a question, sir.
Yes, go on, please.
Yes, sir. Can you use Echo to write a very long text in a file, or just for touch up?
Yeah, whatever you write on the screen, you can you can append to a file through Echo.
Okay, thank you.
It's not up to you to say, wow, this is too long to be written on the screen. Let me just go into text editor.
Okay. Okay, all right.
AWS is starting tomorrow, February the 1st. So this is somebody's asking, I thought this was AWS. So this is our revision class for Linux that we just completed. And then the Linux class will be moving to AWS tomorrow. So this is Linux. All right. That is clarified. Yes, question? Questions? Mr. Adelaja, I want to speak up. Is Mr. Adelaja here? Mr. Adelaja is not here. I thought I saw him on the phone.
I have this question. It's about changing directories. Are you there, Mr. Akin?
Yeah, I'm here. Like,
Yeah. So I know you addressed it the last time by copying. So say for instance, you have the root, you have the home directory, and you have EC2 users, and you've created multiple directories, right? And the question I asked the last time was, if you want to change, say for instance, you're at home, right? And you want to go all the way to the last directory. Imagine you have like a list of directories. But I think the way you answered it last time was you can copy the whole thing so you can jump all the way to the directory you want, right? So my question is there any other way? Because I've been trying, instead of like you doing CD, CD, change directory to this, change directory to this to get to the final directories. Imagine you have a whole bunch of list of directories. What can you do in that case? Do you understand?
So I think I understand. So let's do it. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So see this. First of all, that is the way to go from wherever you are. This is the way to go all the way to the root directory, CD root. All right, so print working directory. What does it show?
That's the root, yes.
All right, so that is one way, one form of answer to your question, irrespective of where you are. Okay, now let's see, ls-l, what do we have? We have all of these directories, right? By the way, I'm using this Cloud Shell. It's a simple way to practice Linux without actually setting up an EC2 machine and installing Linux on it. It's just the shell. Can you see the sign here?
Yes.
Right there, yeah. So it's a simple way of practicing. But of course, we might get to some advanced stage where we need to have things really running and not just practicing on the shell. In that case, we will need to set up an EC2 and customize it. Otherwise, the AWS Cloud Shell is just like, just the shell to help us. All right, so to answer your question, let's go to our home directory. How do we go straight to our home directory without doing CD home, CD EC2, and so on? The answer is CD, right? So right now, what are we? Print working directory. So in this case, on the Cloud Shell, the user is a Cloud Shell user. Or if we're inside EC2, the user would have been EC2 user. So your question now is, now that we are here, let's make directory A, then directory to A. Make directory B, then directory to B. Make directory C, then directory to C. Okay, maybe we stop there. What are we now? Print working directory. We are now in directory C, which is inside B, which is inside A, and so on and so forth. All right. So if we wanted to go, let's say we are back home, CD, and we wanted to go to directory C.
Right.
Instead of doing CD A, CD B to get to CD C, we can just go straight to C by doing CD from here.
Okay.
From this current directory, go to A, from A, go to B, from B, go to C. And then that is it. We can enter.
Okay.
Yeah. Or now that we're here, if you want to go all the way to, let's do print working directory. You want to go to home without first of all going back one step to B, then another one step to A, another. You can just do CD/home. You see it? How do I do? Look at it. Just that.
Okay.
If I do that, it takes me to home. So by entering it's called path, the path name. By entering PATH, by entering the PART of the PATH, the part of the path that I want, I can go straight to whatever directory, whatever flow.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
That was the absolute path, right?
The absolute part, you add absolute when it is the strict, the defined part. I mean the strict part of the part. Otherwise, it will be relative.
Yeah.
So relatively, you can go to anywhere, but once you find the actual place that you are going to and you enter it, then you call that absolute part.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's just describing the real keyword there is the path. P-A-T-H. Otherwise called path name. Enter the path name of the directory that you are going to, and you can take that from here. All right, so just to find out if you following, let me ask you, ls minus l, let's go to cd ls minus l. All right, so that's what I am. Print working directory, of course. Tells me what I am. Who can tell me now how to, inside directory A, there's a directory B. And inside directory B, there's a directory C. Inside directory C, there's a directory ABC, D, and so on and so forth. Who can tell me how to go straight into directory C from here without passing through B, without stopping them? I enter the path name to C. So who can give me the path name to C from here? Already, it's not on the screen because I've already. Who can tell me the path name to C? CD, the path
So
name
it's
to C.
CD dot / A.
Yeah. So ./ means I am going to somewhere within the current directory, within where I am. So don't go back to root directory anywhere. Stay in the current directory to look for where I am going to. All right. That is the meaning of .c. Correct. Then /what? Continue. I just explained.
Okay, it's B, then / A / B, then / C.
Correct. So now that you have gotten the actual thing from the relative thing from the, we can now call this the absolute. So this is the pattern. If I press that, it takes me to C. If it was 7 steps away, yeah, it's the same thing. I'll just enter the path name, or like somebody said, the absolute path name. All right, any other question? You have not revised your notes, that's why you don't have questions. I guess you expected that we start to pick a topic and then no. You said revision, so I was expecting that. Yeah.
Can you show us one more time how to give sudo power to users?
Yes. So let's say we create a user and call the user theITern. So how do we create a user? We say sudo user add me. All right. So let's quickly add a password. Add a password to me. It will be what? Sudo password me. And then okay. So the shell apparently does not have the power to do this. Shell is just empty, nothing wild. So to demonstrate that, let's create let's go create our EC so I can demonstrate that. So we are done with shell. We can exit shell because the task at hand is bigger than what shell can. So let's come here and do EC2. Then we'll go into EC2. And then we'll quickly set up an EC2. I'll call it name. We'll call it we're going to SSH. Do it that click. All right, so our instance is ready. We can connect directly while in cloud. Just waiting for the connect button to come up. And then we'll see how to add a user to name of this and then I say connect. I need all the space. All right, so what do we have here? We have EC2. So let's create a what are we creating? User. Let's create a user and say sudo user add form. Form needs password. How do we assign password? Sudo password form. Daily 2023 daily 2023. All right, so Tom is ready as a user. So Tom would not be able to use sudo to perform any administrative task. Will I add him to the group? So the way to add him to the group is to do sudo user mod, modify this user account -ag. This means retain the primary group of Tom. What is the primary group of Tom? When the user Tom was created, the group Tom was also created. So there is user Tom, there is group Tom. So that group Tom is the primary group of Tom. Nothing must happen to it. So retain the primary group of Tom. In addition to that, add Tom to this other group. That is the meaning of the big letter G. Add Tom to a secondary group called we, or add to the primary secondary group called who. Who are we talking about here? We're talking about the user. So that's the command. User, sudo user mod minus user mod minus ag. I hope I'm right. So this is the question you ask. This is how to add user to the wheel group. The wheel group is the sudo group. When you add a user to the wheel group, that user becomes a sudoer. In other words, he's now able to use sudo command. How do I find out if Tom is now in wheel group? I can do it in one of two or maybe one of three ways. One way is to find out, Tom, what groups do you belong to? ID Tom. And then to tell me, first of all, my name is Tom, and I belong to the group Tom primarily. Here, group Tom. And then I also belong to the group we. So this part of the statement tells me that Tom is the sudo. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right.
So what does the term mean in next to will?
10 is the group ID.
Okay.
So every name has an ID that the computer prefers to work with number than working with. The reason they are using regular name is just for human, easy understanding. So the ID for this group name is 10. So the ID, group ID is 10. Generally speaking, the numbers 1 to 1,000 is reserved for system use as group ID. I mean, as ID generally. So in those days, in a certification question, they'll ask you, when you as the user begins to work with system, numbers will be assigned to whatever you do from 1001 and above. So that is why the first account we created carried the ID 1001 and above. So to differentiate between a system parameter and a parameter, or specifically a user or group that was created by a user, you look at the number. If it's 1,000 and less, then it's a system user or system group. If it is 1,001 and above, then it's a system created user or system created group. You can confirm that by doing cat etc pass. And then you see that all the numbers. Oh. Okay. So you can see that number 1, number 0, number 1 ID, number 3, and so on and so forth. You get to 1,000. So if the system continues, of course, when the system creates additional ID for users, for group, it should be any number less than 1,000. But from this 1,001 and above, is for, yeah. I'll just go in advanced, but at least 1 to 2 persons. Yes, question? Did I answer your question? More questions? So let me ask you then, a user ID has the number 804. Another user ID has the number 1017. Which of these 2 users is a system user and why? I mean, which of these 2 users was created by the system, by Linux itself, not by anyone, not by any user of the system? Linux by itself created that user. Which of those 2?
804.
804. Why did you say 804?
Because according to Linux configuration, the first 1,000 numbers are reserved for system users.
Correct. Correct. You have passed your Linux system administrator. But this data exam does not carry weight like it used to 5 years ago. There are more, like I said, more employer pro-employer applications that they are really interested in. They are the DevOps tools. Like Jenkins, like Ansible, like all of this. Oh, questions? Yes. Questions?
I want to ask, after we finish the AWS class, do you advise that we write the AWS exam? Like, does that carry weight or is not really necessary?
Yes, it does carry weight, and I would advise that after the training, not just after the AWS course, after the whole training, you should endeavor to write AWS exam, AWS Solutions Architect Associate Level certification. It carries weight, especially for those of you coming from non-IT background. Of all of the many courses that you would take to become a DevOps engineer, that alone by itself is enough to prove that you are a tech person. The rest, go and prove it at the internet. But that by itself is okay. But you know, certification has really become very, very watery these days. I'm not saying that to discourage you, but that's the reality. So much that it is now not just possible, it's not easy to get a job without certification. You know why? Because the Indians have, well, this is public, I mean, some people have spoiled the market. You can actually sit in your home and not know anything in IT and have 7 certifications in your name. So it's no longer a good way to. So what is more important?
That's very true, because I think LinkedIn is notorious for that. I've had a couple people, reach out to me saying they want to write exams for me, and
That's right.
It just seemed crazy to me. Like, how do these people even think about this thing?
And they do it easily. I mean, 150, as cheap as $150. All right. And employers do know this thing because it shows. So what is more important now is, you know what? I'm not ready to see any of these claims. Just take this piece of job, go and do it, come back to me in 24 hours and show me, and then come and explain to me how you did it. So the projects are much more important. But however, it's not, you can write the certification. If you understand the concept enough to pass the certification by yourself, it's a big plus. Don't worry about the other courses, just focus on AWS. That by itself. And you know, all certifications don't carry equal weight. So the weight that AWS carries is enough to show the prospective employer the potential, the hidden skill behind that certificate. All right. So hope that answered your question.
Yes, but I have a follow-up question. Will you trigger the exams after the AWS? You know, from experience, you have to go through a trainer. It's after that training that the exam is triggered for you to write the exam, or is the AWS just open for everybody to just register?
No, that's not necessary. Just register. Just register on your own. You can just register on your own. Because these days you can actually study on your own without even attending formal classes and still write the exam. No, you don't need that like they used to do with project management and no. Somebody certifying you attended 2,000 hours of classes and blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. That's my background. That's why I asked.
Okay, no, it's not necessary. Or any IT code for that matter. Yes, questions? You ask for review. You don't want to ask questions.
I think somebody has a question in the chat box.
Okay. Let me see. Apart from AWS, which other cloud certification would you recommend? None. Just focus on AWS. Practice all of the projects that you are going to do. Then go and get a job. After you get a job, then you can now go on and write whatever certification the job directs you to focus on. All right, we will not all get the same kind of job. Some, like we were saying yesterday, some people will get jobs that will get them so busy they might even hate IT. Others will get jobs where one leg is on their partner, another hand is on their baby, and they are working and they are enjoying and making all the money. So depending on the kind of job and where you get the job and what department they assign you to, that would fine-tune the direction you go from there. But basically, you need just enough to get into the industry and end your system. And there. So when I say I recommend only that, it doesn't mean that there are no other certifications. I'm just saying if the purpose is to learn enough to get a job, that is enough. What's the next question? No. Yeah, that's okay. Let me see if I can answer this. Okay, so I hear that Linux can run, what's the way to put it? Linux can do, Linux can do literally, potentially anything that you ask it to do. What do you need to first do to make Linux do whatever you need it to do? I'm just speaking plain English, because if I speak technical, you would easily get the answer. So let me just confuse you. If you come again, if you didn't get that question, then
you will need to create the instance.
Of course, we definitely have to have an instance before we even talk about it. So no, that's not the answer.
Can you repeat the question again, please?
No, I will not. Not sure. So understanding the question is the first part of the test. So that was the test. I haven't understood the question. Now attempt to give me. Anybody who understood the question? All right, so the answer is you install the appropriate package. Make Linux package installation. So what are the steps? Can you run me through on a very high level how you would install a package on the Linux server?
You want to check if that package is previously installed on the system.
Okay.
By doing RPM space -QA space pub and grep for that particular package you're trying to install. Say, for example, you're trying to install the SSH package.
Yeah, I get that. What will be the next step after that?
Then you use your installation manager, which is yum or DNF. So it's going to be yum install.
All right, so I do my yum install. After that, what's the next?
Yum install the name of the package.
Yeah, I understand that. You don't really have to break it down, just high level.
Okay.
All right, then after that? Anybody help?
After that, I think you would check the configuration.
Configuration file, correct. That's all. I'm just looking for those keywords. So yum install configuration file. After that, what? Yes. After that, what? After configuration file.
After you check the configuration, you edit the permissions if you have to, and run it. I believe.
No, permission does not fall in there. So after I edit the configuration, if I need to, maybe I need to, maybe I don't, but at least mention that there's something called configuration file that I might need to. After that, what's the next thing I should do? Anybody? You can look at your notes. Yeah, somebody was going to contribute, but the baby will not allow. Okay, you can put it in chat. So what's the next thing?
We have to modify.
Yeah, modification is part of configuration file. So we are done with that. What's the next step after that? Anybody? Okay, it's not a full class, right? Are we missing the contributors in class? Look at your note and tell me the next thing that follows. After you've confirmed that the service is not in place, the package is not installed, you do your yum install, and then you check the configuration file in case you need to modify something. And then after that, what happens? What do you do?
You restart the system?
You restart the service. Thank you. You restart the service. All right. Good. All right, questions from you now. You restart the service. And then whatever you configured would become effective. I mean, the service restart. Restarting the system is different from restarting the service. Yes, already know about permission set. We really talked about that extensively. So, no, okay, so what's the command to copy? What's the command to copy file from one server to another server, from a host to remote server? Okay. SCP, that's the command. SCP. All right, so yeah. Okay, so I'm just waiting for you to ask questions so I can throw more line, and that will be it. If there are no questions, then
there's this part of the materials that talks about locating a file. I don't know if we covered that.
yeah, it was so simple we didn't have to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so just yeah, just try. Where is it? What are they? You can just look at the command.
Okay.
So where is it? I'm looking for it. To locate a file is somewhere around the assignment, right? Yes, somewhere around here. What page is it on your manual?
I think it's on page 14, but this is the whole manual though.
Yeah, it will be around 14, right? Okay.
14, yeah.
28, wow. 14. Okay, so to find a file, in Etsy, for example, you say find/Etsy, then the name of the file. This will search the Etsy directory for names ending with .text extension. All right, so if we just do that, for example, we may not be able to. All right, so if we enter that, this is find name.text. All right, so okay, so let's say what particular name. Let's say Amazon. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so not allowed. All right, so find. So this is look for, that's fine. In the directory, in this directory, the name Amazon. All right. And because I'm in a different directory other than my own directory, I need to provide sudo to get access. So this is how to use find. It's an example of how to use the find command. Control C, then Control V, Control V. Okay. So you see one reason why I would prefer to use. So I'll have command on it. So go to Etsy and look for the name minus name and then name of file. File name. All right. So that's an example. And then this is another example. If what you are looking for is empty file inside this directory. So you can just do Control C. And then what are you saying this time? You are now saying, you are saying, go to this directory. Incidentally, I'm already there, but if I wasn't there, if I was somewhere else, I can say, go to this directory and find what? Look for files that are empty. So as long as it does not say bad command, it actually did perform the job. It's just that there are no empty files. Okay, let's quickly create empty files here. Touch file 1. So let's do the command again on there. So we say, is there any file in the directory that is empty, does not contain anything? And then it's telling us, yes, I found a file called file 1. It is empty.
Okay, awesome.
Something like that. So those were less for you to really practice it so that you just get handled. Let's try this one. What does this one mean? Find in this directory files. Wow, this is a good one. Files with the permission set. So these are switches. I mean, options. We call them switches because. All right. So look for file with the permission set 777. So maybe where this new administrator is not doing things right. He's just giving public access to files that you'd have maybe 644 permission. And I wonder, man, how many files have you given 777 permission? We need to quickly correct them before management sees them. So you want to look for those files. So you can put a command like that to say find in this directory all files with permission set 777, for example. And then it tells you there is no such file. But if there were 15 of them, it will list all 15 of them, and then you cannot take care of them before somebody comes. So that's how to generally use. I mean, this is a guide as to how to use the find command to look for files specifically with that name, files that are empty, files that have a particular set of permission. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does.
All right. So that is how to find files. How to look for files. Of course, already in the so as for date, clear, we've been using all of that. And then init 6, you can actually reboot. We'll use init 0, clear. Once we are done here, we can use init 6 to restart the system, or init 0 to shut down the system. All right. So at some advanced level where you don't necessarily have access to, by the time you do infrastructure as code, and then you go advanced, you see that will not be coming here to the console every time to do stuff. So you want to control everything from here when you don't have access to here. This is shut down. You can use commands like this to shut down. If I press init 0 now, what will happen? Fail to execute because, of course, who can shut down? Anybody cannot just come in the product, right? So you have to be sudo. All right. So the system. So if we enter command and it's no longer responding because we said init. Right? You have to come back here. And then your system is gone. So you see how init 0 works now. It's actually stopped. The system is stopped because it says shutdown. So to remove it, okay, you start AWS tomorrow, so you see this difference between stop and we'll just leave it at that. But for now, since we are staying in class, let us restart it. All right, and then go back to go back inside the system and continue to complete? Yeah, good question. Any other question?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are we going to encounter more Linux commands down the line? Say,
yeah, definitely.
Different from the ones we've learned so far.
Yes, you would encounter. Yes, you will encounter additional commands.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You will encounter additional commands, and even the ones that you find, like somebody observed yesterday that when we did echo, we didn't put quotes. You will see, and then like Mr. Adela that was saying, why didn't we use the other method? Even the ones that you already know, you will find simpler and better ways, modern ways to implement them. Instead of taking 3 steps to get to something, for example, we'll give you the 1-step alternative. But you needed to know the normal way first before we now tell you how to factor around. Yeah, any more questions?
One more question.
Yes.
So by the end of the 3rd month, can we start applying for like AWS jobs while working
by
on
the end
the DevOps side?
Yeah. By the end of the 3rd month, you can start applying, but it just be like 40. Your chances of getting a job will be like 40% because the real tools you don't have learned. But of course, you now know enough to be able to say, I'm an IT person. What can I do?
Okay.
Yeah, you would have known enough to say, well, I may not know of these 7 requirements. I may not know 4, but I know these 3. What can you use me for? Or what can we do to you? Because I can do this, I can do this. These other ones I'm still in training, trying to cover them. And I've actually had I remember at least 2 cases of people who got job at that level in the last 2 years. And then one did not continue with training, he just focused on the job. Then the other one continued with training and completed the entire course. And is the one, was it with your class that I was sharing that just before I came into class, somebody was there? One of you guys was sharing
One who got 2 jobs.
The testimony. Yeah, I got 2 jobs. And then I got the call from the second job today. Because he used this company as reference. Yeah. So we got the background check call. Yeah. And then it's good to go. Yeah.
Okay.
We completed.
I wasn't referring to DevOps jobs though. I mean like AWS, architect, cloud support.
But the thing is, I thought we've emphasized that many times. They are just called those titles. In actual fact, the job description is
DevOps.
Exactly DevOps, the tool that you are going to learn in DevOps.
Okay.
So whether they call it QS engineer or they call it cloud solutions architect, I mean, we've had enough experience to conclude now that it's not by the title, it's by the job description.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I missed that. Thank you.
Wow. Yes. Sometimes it's not always about what you have covered. It's actually about your potential sometimes at job interview. So they know that, yeah, you have not covered all of the tools, but the way you have mastered the little that you know, you are trainable. And if they give you another 2 months, you will know everything they expect you to know. So why don't they just take you in now at 65 or at 70,000 rather than wait for you to complete the training and then hire you at 110 or 120? So just take advantage. Okay, you know what? You don't know anything, but we'll take you in and train you, and then we'll start you on 75 or 8. It's good for them because they know that they've seen from your strong foundation that you are trainable and that you will learn all of those things. And then once they let you in, they open their resources, vast resources, enormous library, and then they put pressure on you to begin to learn. So those are the kind of jobs that will not give you time to do anything because the expectation is too high compared to Where? I mean, I'm just being hypothetical. It doesn't have to be like that. Compared to just where you have learned all of the tools, you have practiced, you are confident. So what are they bringing your way that you cannot finish in 3 days and then you are done? Examples of realizing.
Can I ask you this? I know that you talk about 3 days. I think this is the third time you're talking about, working for 3 days. When you start working as a DevOps engineer, do they give you like a project to go work in 3 days? Or I'm saying that because I work with DevOps engineer right now, right? And I know that at my job where we move to prod, we just move to prod and they get things done like ASAP. Well, you've been saying 3 days, so I'm wondering, do they have to wait 3 days to get the job done, like a data analyst or something?
It would depend on. Sometimes they have to give you the project and say the timeline is 5 days, 1 week, or 24 hours. Yeah. So sometimes they give you a whole infrastructure as they give you the network design and expect you to put everything in place within maybe 3 days, for example. Yeah. So for example, there's a network design and you need to come up with the Terraform codes that would deploy that design, that infrastructure, that VPC and all of the content in cloud. And then they give you a timeline. It's not indefinite. You don't have 1 month to do it. You have only a couple of days to do it. So yeah, in cases like that, you can just, I've had some past trainings where I had this particular one, maybe 2 trainings calling to say, man, I have this project. Please, do you have codes that I can just run to deploy it? I've been everywhere, online, checking resources, but there's this particular line. I need the Terraform code that can do it for me. Do you have it? So if they are lucky to come across, like you guys are going to network and form alumni after training. If Maya is able to call Andrew and Andrew, I just deployed that project 2 weeks ago. I have similar codes, go run it. Yeah? It makes your life easier. Instead of being online, searching for materials here and there, and in 3 days, your job is ready. That's why I keep mentioning 3 days, or maybe in 2 hours, the job is ready. And then
you even say something that if we were given maybe 24 hours or 7 hours to do it, once we know it, we can use the opportunity to just use the hours and
I mean, it's not you will know that it's not every time that you just say I finished it, because you cannot be idle. Once you finish it, they give you additional one. So you don't have to play around so that you still have time for learning. I mean, depending on the level. Again, if they find out that you are such a bright person, every job they give you, you are finishing anywhere, it's likely that when opportunities come, they will come in. So, all of that will play safe, but the important thing is to get in. All right, did that help with that question? So depending on the state of the project, if you are just building the project, they'll normally give you time. But once the project is ready and it's ready to be, if the developers are done on the dev server, the testers are done on the test server, and you want to push to prod, then of course at that level, it might be something urgent because there's nothing more to do. So prior to that, there might be, depending on the kind of project. Yeah. Questions, no contribution. All right, so everyone good? Can you still hear me?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Yes. You said the first class tomorrow is free, right?
Yeah, you are already in class, so we cannot just send you away suddenly. Yeah, we'll just allow you
Okay,
to.
sir.
Yeah.
So we have to make payment tomorrow, right?
Yeah, in fact, your colleagues are making payment already. Make payment as soon as possible.
Okay, sir.
But if you don't have it
Okay.
right away, yeah, you can still join.
No, you hear from me this evening. All right, sir.
Yeah. Mhm. Right. So that's about it, guys. But if you have questions, I'm here for another 1 hour. But if you don't have questions, then don't need to keep it.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Okay.
So if I don't want, I'm going to take the AWS class, but well, if I don't want to proceed, is there anything I can do with the Linux and the AWS?
Linux and AWS alone. There's always something you can do. Whatever I'm saying, that when I say you cannot do something on this, it's just my opinion. It don't, even with Linux, you can. I mean, there's always something you can do with what you know. There's always something you can do.
All right. Thank you.
So even with what you know now, I mean, I know somebody who was doing 80K just on Linux, just on the knowledge of Linux, and then came back to build, to upskill, with DevOps tools. So don't take me, don't take my word for it when I say I'm just looking at the chances in the market vis-a-vis the opportunities that are out there. So to answer your question, you do Linux, you do AWS, at least you've done something.
Because
in competing with, sorry, yeah.
Because the reason why I'm asking is that I'm trying to do the Comptia Security Plus because that's what I'm trying to go into. But so my cousin is into that, is into SOC, whatever. So he told me that if I can just go ahead and do the Linux and AWS, it's still gonna help me.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to get into that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's knowledge, so you cannot. So if you want to change paths from that point, or if all you want to do is know how to go into cloud, set up infrastructure, then get into that, go into those infrastructure, specifically into servers, and then configure them like we have learned here. And then from that point, you want to go in a different direction. Why not? Why not?
All right, thanks.
So if your cousin is already an IT person and he knows what's going on out there, yeah, he can take his counsel, his suggestions. Yeah. I also had somebody who was supposed to come into class and then he saw a sample of the video, and then he showed to a friend of his who already has 2 jobs in IT. And then the friend suggested, you know what, this is good. However, I'm not recommending this path to you. All I need you to do is just go and do Azure DevOps, and then come back, and then I'll be able to find something. Of course, because that guy is his friend and he has literally promised to help him get a job. Then of course, you go with that advice. So yeah, it's not always. This is just one of many paths to go in tech. It's not the only way to go. So yeah, there will be other pieces of advice here and here, other suggestions, especially from people that you are depending on to help you networking and connections that will lead to job. Yeah, they are valid. They are valid suggestions and recommendations. Take them. It's just that whatever you want, almost, in fact, it's not everything you want to do these days, you should at least know how to do it in cloud. Whether it is networking, whether it is security, whether it's auditing, whatever it is in IT, you should at least know how these things work in cloud environment, because we have moved from physical environment to virtual environment. So that's why you would need to understand cloud minimally. And then if you want to continue in the want to continue in this direction we are going, specifically as a DevOps or cloud person, then this part is good. But there are other ways to go, other possibilities outside. Yes, good. Thank you. Good question. Yeah. Any more questions?
So I'm not gonna lie, I've not really looked at the last video yet, but I don't know if we're supposed to be doing batch scripting.
Yeah, we talked about batch scripting in the last video. Yeah.
So like I said, I've not touched on
okay,
it.
you are not in.
Yeah, but is there any way we could just briefly do something on it?
Not likely. Maybe if we started with that. But the video, it was really
Okay.
Yeah, it will really help you too. We'll cover that.
Okay.
So this was what we did. If you can see the notes. So we set up a web server manually.
Okay.
For one company BOA, and then we'll now use this script. We just run this script on the second server for company Chase. And then all we did was fold our arms and watch this deploy, and then we just went straight to browse into everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Is very, yeah. And then I wanted to do a second one yesterday, and then this script was missing. And then we managed to find it, we added it. So this is your own assignment now. This is your own part of the assignment. Since we did the first part and it worked, you just copy and paste this script like we did with the first one. What does this script do? This script will help you create many user accounts simultaneously. So if you are to create 30 users for 30 user accounts with username and password, just create a user, create a list of all of the users, and then run the script, and then to create them all at once.
Okay.
Whereas it's a basket. Whereas the first one will create a web server. Yeah. Already.
So one other thing again, you updated the Linux manual.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of thinking because the one I printed out before.
Oh, I sent this updated version. This one you are seeing right now, which is the latest. I sent it to the group yesterday.
Yeah, I saw it, but the thing is, I don't know which pages I needed to print out. Like do I need to print everything out again?
That's the latest manual now. We're not saying that's the latest full complete manual. So discard the old one and use this one in place of the old one.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome. And then, of course, we'll be using, these are just basic tools. So we'll be using them subsequently in other courses, and then we'll master them. All right. So I guess that's about it for the honors revisions. So I'll watch out for this class tomorrow. I would also have a class, so I'm not sure. So if your trainer comes late or does not show up again tomorrow, don't worry, we'll change trainers completely. We'll change trainers completely because so sorry that he was not. I don't understand why he wasn't. Luckily, I was free, so I was able to take it. So tomorrow you start your AWS, and then I'm starting a new Linux class tomorrow, and then those classes will be running. I'll watch out for you. I'll watch out and make sure that it comes in on time. So apart from that, everything else is good. W, and then back to cloud, and then we close that screen, and then we shut down we terminate our instance. so that we're not, that's what we're not using. And that is, I'll close our one. All right, that's it, guys. We'll upload this recording so that people who are not in class can have it. Thank you so much. We'll see you again.
Thank you. See you at DevOps.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah.